All right, welcome back, everyone, for another deep dive. Today we're going to be venturing a little outside our usual territory.
Oh.
We're exploring a technique
Okay.
for spicing things up in the bedroom.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's called the start-stop method.
Interesting.
And our source is this really detailed guide
Okay.
that's supposed to, help people, enhance their intimate experiences.
Yeah, I glanced at the source material.
Yeah.
And it's pretty fascinating the way it kind of dives into this specific technique,
Yeah.
but also emphasizes the emotional
Oh, yeah.
and psychological aspects of intimacy.
Absolutely.
It's not just about the mechanics,
Totally. And it's almost like they're saying, hey, you can follow all the steps perfectly,
Right.
but if you're not comfortable and connected with your partner,
Yeah.
it's not going to be truly fulfilling.
Yeah, definitely.
And speaking of comfort,
Yeah.
this guide really hammered home that feeling comfortable is essential,
Yeah.
for both partners.
For both partners, for sure.
You can't fully relax and enjoy the experience if you're
Right.
worried about a crick in your neck or something.
Exactly. Or your knee.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
So they actually even give specific positions and using pillows,
Oh, wow.
all this support
That's interesting.
to make sure you're comfortable.
Yeah, it's really all about setting that stage.
Yeah.
For intimacy,
Yeah.
creating a space where both partners feel safe
Yes.
and at ease.
Totally.
And that's kind of where this start-stop method comes in.
Okay.
It's all about building and releasing tension,
Okay.
but it's in a way that's mindful
Yeah.
and responsive to your partner's needs.
So how does it actually work?
Well,
Is it as simple as
Yeah.
starting and stopping?
there's a bit more to it than that.
Okay.
The guide actually breaks it down into a series of steps.
Okay.
Starting with what they call a patient buildup.
Oh, patient buildup.
Yeah.
Okay.
So think slow, sensual exploration.
Okay.
Lots of teasing and anticipation.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a slow burn, gradually increasing the heat before.
Before hitting the pause button.
Exactly.
I'm intrigued.
Yeah. And that's where the start-stop element comes in.
Okay.
So just as things are getting intense,
Yeah.
you intentionally slow down
Okay.
or even stop the stimulation.
Wow.
It might seem counterintuitive,
Right.
but the idea is this teasing this back and forth.
Okay.
It actually heightens the pleasure.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's like they're saying, don't rush to the finish line.
Exactly.
Savor every step of the journey.
Yeah, precisely.
Okay.
And during those pauses, the guide suggests incorporating other sensual activities,
What?
like kissing, whispering sweet nothings, or exploring other erogenous zones.
Oh, keeping the energy high
Yeah.
and the anticipation building.
Exactly.
So it's like this constant dance between building up the excitement and then
Yeah.
pulling back, teasing them with the promise of what's to come.
Yes, and the guide emphasizes the importance of consistency,
Okay.
both in terms of rhythm and technique.
Okay.
Find what works and stick with it.
Okay.
Don't jump around between different motions too much,
Okay.
as that can disrupt the flow.
Yeah.
It's like creating a musical crescendo,
Yeah.
building towards a powerful climax.
Oh, I like that. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not just about following a set of instructions, though, right?
No, definitely not.
It seems like they're really emphasizing being attuned to
Yeah.
your partner's responses.
Absolutely. The source really stresses paying close attention
Well,
to both their verbal
yeah.
and nonverbal cues.
So, are they moaning? Are they breathing heavily?
Yeah, are they arching their back? These are all signs that they're enjoying what you're doing.
But what if they seem to, pull back or hesitate?
That's a cue to adjust your approach.
Okay.
Maybe you're being too intense, or maybe you need to focus on a different area.
Right.
It's all about being present and responsive to their needs.
So it's like a constant conversation.
Yes,
But not necessarily with words.
exactly.
It's like a dance where you're both leading and following,
Yeah.
responding to each other's cues, creating something beautiful together.
Yeah, I like that.
Now, I know we're just scratching the surface here,
Yeah, we are.
but is there anything else about this start-stop method that really jumped out at you?
What I found intriguing is how the source doesn't just focus on
Okay.
the physical techniques.
Mm-hmm.
It really delves into the emotional and psychological
Yes.
aspects of intimacy.
I'm curious to hear more about that.
Yeah.
But you know what? I
Oh.
think we need to take a quick break.
Okay.
We'll be back soon to unpack those juicy details.
Sounds good.
All right, so we're back and ready to dive a little deeper
Yeah.
into this start-stop method.
Mm-hmm.
And before the break,
Yes.
we were talking about how this source material
Right.
goes beyond just the mechanics.
Yes. It really emphasizes creating a safe and trusting space.
Okay.
for your partner.
Yeah.
An environment where they feel comfortable, like, exploring their desires
Totally.
and expressing their needs.
It's almost like setting the mood right.
Yeah,
But it goes beyond just like candles and music.
exactly.
It's more about fostering that sense of emotional connection,
Right.
a feeling of security and intimacy.
Exactly. And the source also even suggests
Right.
like incorporating elements of playfulness and exploration.
Oh, that reminds me.
Yeah.
The guide had these really creative suggestions
What were they?
for sensory play,
Oh, yeah. Like what?
like using a feather or an ice cube,
Oh, wow.
or even just like the warmth of your breath
Oh,
to tease and tantalize.
that's interesting.
It's about engaging all the senses, right?
Yeah.
Like adding that layer of surprise and excitement.
Yeah, for sure.
Speaking of surprises,
Yeah.
there was one suggestion that really caught me off guard.
What was that?
Flavored lubricants.
Oh, yeah. That one definitely stood out to me, too.
Really?
Yeah. It just shows how open the source is to like
Yeah.
exploring different ways to enhance the experience.
It's like they're encouraging us to be adventurous,
Yeah.
to like step outside our comfort zones and try new things.
And to remember that intimacy can be playful and fun.
Yeah,
It's not always about achieving like a specific goal.
right.
You know, it's about enjoying the journey together.
And speaking of the journey,
Yes.
the source really seems to emphasize
Mm-hmm.
the importance of teasing
Teasing, yeah.
throughout the entire experience.
Yeah, it's not just something you do at the beginning.
Right.
The start-stop technique itself is a form of teasing.
Okay.
You know, building up that anticipation and
Yeah.
then pulling back,
Hmm.
creating those delicious waves of pleasure.
And they suggest incorporating teasing into those pauses too, right?
Yes, exactly.
Like with soft touches or whispers.
Yeah, or even just eye contact
Oh, just keeping the energy high and the connection strong.
throughout the entire experience.
Now, you mentioned earlier the importance of
Yeah.
paying attention to your partner's cues.
Right, and the guide goes into quite a bit of detail about
Yeah.
nonverbal communication.
What do they say?
So it suggests like watching for subtle signs,
Okay.
like their back arching,
Hmm.
their hands gripping the sheets,
Yeah.
or even if they try to pull you closer.
Those are all good signs, right?
Yes, exactly.
But what about if they seem to like pull back or hesitate?
Right.
How do you know if you're like
Yeah.
pushing too far or if you need to like adjust your approach?
Well, the source really emphasizes that open communication is crucial.
Okay.
It encourages couples to talk about their needs and preferences,
Hmm.
both before and during the experience.
So it's like having a dialogue, but not necessarily with words.
Right.
It's more about being attuned to your partner's nonverbal cues
Yeah.
and responding accordingly.
Exactly.
But even with the best communication, there's always room for improvement, right?
Absolutely. And the source encourages readers to approach this whole journey
Okay.
with a mindset of continuous growth.
So it's not about being perfect.
Right.
It's about learning from each experience
Exactly.
and striving to become
Yeah.
a more attentive and responsive lover.
And to remember that intimacy is a shared experience,
Yeah.
a journey that you're taking together.
It's about being present in the moment,
Yes.
enjoying the connection,
Mm-hmm.
creating something truly special.
Now, there's another aspect that the source highlights
Okay.
that I think is really important:
What's that?
vulnerability.
Oh, that's a big one.
It is, especially when it comes to intimacy.
Yeah.
You know, it's about allowing yourself to be open and exposed,
Mhm.
both physically and emotionally.
And that could be scary
It can be,
for a lot of people.
for sure.
But, the source makes a good point.
What's that?
Vulnerability builds trust,
It does.
and trust deepens connection. And when you have that strong connection,
Yeah,
the pleasure is amplified tenfold.
exactly. It's about creating a space where you both feel safe
Mhm.
to express your desires and explore your boundaries.
And that requires a lot of trust and communication.
It does.
It's about being honest with yourself
Yeah.
and with your partner
Mm-hmm.
and being open to try new things.
And remembering that it's okay to make mistakes.
Yeah.
It's all part of the learning process.
So we've talked about the technique,
Yeah.
the importance of communication and vulnerability,
Right.
and the role of playfulness and exploration.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else about this start-stop method
Whoa.
that we haven't touched on yet?
The source emphasizes one more crucial aspect:
Okay.
adaptability.
Adaptability.
Yes.
How does that play into all of this?
Well, the source reminds us that every partner is unique,
Right.
and no single technique or approach
Yeah.
will work for everyone.
Makes sense.
So it encourages us to stay curious,
Okay.
open-minded, and adaptable.
So be willing to try new things.
Exactly.
Experiment with different rhythms.
Yeah.
Maybe even incorporate toys or explore other forms of intimacy.
Exactly. And it's about being responsive to your partner's feedback,
Okay.
both verbal and nonverbal.
So if something isn't working,
Yeah.
don't be afraid to switch things up.
Right. It's like a dance.
Yeah.
You need to be in sync with your partner,
Yeah.
adapting to their lead,
Right.
responding to their cues.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
And it highlights the importance of being present and attentive throughout the experience.
Yes.
So we've covered a lot of ground here.
Yeah.
From the specific steps
Yeah.
of this start-stop method to the broader principles of intimacy, communication,
Yeah.
vulnerability,
Yeah.
adaptability.
Yeah, it's been a lot.
But there's one concept that we touched on earlier
Okay.
that I'd love to explore in more detail.
Oh, which one is that?
It's this whole idea of like synchronizing energy
Oh, yeah. Synchronizing energy.
with your partner.
Yeah.
It's such an intriguing concept.
Yeah, it is.
And I'm curious to hear your thoughts on it.
Okay. Yeah.
So we're back
Yeah.
and ready to unpack this idea of like synchronizing energy
Right.
that our source keeps mentioning.
Yeah.
It sounds a little mystical, to be honest.
Yeah, it does have a certain mystique to it.
Right.
But I think when you break it down, it's really about achieving like a deep level of connection with your partner,
Okay.
both physically and emotionally.
So it's more than just mirroring their movements.
Exactly. It's about being so attuned to your partner
Okay.
that you're almost like anticipating
Yeah.
their needs and desires.
Okay.
Responding to their every breath,
Wow.
every touch, every subtle shift in energy.
But how do you actually achieve this level of synchronization? I mean,
Well,
it sounds like something that takes a lot of practice
it
and
inc-
intuition.
It definitely requires a willingness to be present
Okay.
in the moment,
Hmm.
to really pay attention
Okay.
to your partner's cues.
So like what kind of cues?
You know, notice their breathing,
Okay.
the way their body moves, the sounds they make,
Okay.
and then respond in a way that feels
Yeah.
natural and intuitive,
Mhm.
like two instruments
Right.
playing in perfect harmony.
I love that analogy.
Yeah,
It's like you're creating a beautiful piece of music together,
exactly.
each note complementing the other,
Yeah,
building towards a crescendo of shared pleasure.
and it's not just about the physical sensations either. It's about connecting on an emotional level too.
So like, how do you do that?
You know, making eye contact,
Okay.
whispering sweet nothings, expressing your desire and appreciation for your partner.
It's about creating a space where you can both lose yourselves
Yeah,
in the moment,
right.
connected on a level that
Mm.
transcends the purely physical.
I think that's why the source calls this technique transformative.
Yeah.
It's about tapping into a deeper level of intimacy. One that's built on trust, communication,
Yeah.
and a willingness to be vulnerable with each other.
It sounds like the start-stop method is really just a framework,
Yeah,
a starting point for exploring all the different ways you can connect with your partner,
exactly.
physically and emotionally.
It's not about following a rigid set of rules,
Okay.
but rather using the technique as a springboard
Yeah.
for deeper exploration and discovery.
So to wrap things up,
Yeah.
what are the key takeaways our listeners should remember?
Well, firstly, remember that comfort and connection are paramount. You know, create a space where you both feel safe and at ease.
And then it's about mastering the art, building and releasing tension.
Yes, using those pauses to enhance the pleasure
Yeah.
and keep the anticipation high.
And don't forget the importance of communication,
Right.
both verbal and nonverbal.
Pay attention to your partner's cues and be willing to adjust your approach as needed.
And above all, approach the experience with a sense of playfulness and curiosity.
Yes, be open to trying new things.
Yes.
Exploring different sensations and discovering what works best for you and your partner.
Because ultimately, the most important ingredient
Yes.
in any intimate experience,
It's a genuine connection.
beautifully said,
Thank you.
it's about being present, attentive, and truly invested in your partner's pleasure.
And when you approach intimacy with that mindset,
Yeah.
the sparks are sure to fly.
Well, we've certainly covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
Yeah.
From the mechanics of the start-stop method
Right.
to the deeper emotional and psychological
Yeah.
aspects of intimacy.
It's been quite a journey.
It has been a fascinating journey.
Yeah.
And I hope our listeners
I hope so too.
have gained some valuable insights along the way.
And perhaps even discovered a few things
Yeah.
about themselves and their own desires.
That's the beauty of these deep dives, isn't it?
It is.
They spark curiosity, encourage exploration, and ultimately empower us to create more fulfilling experiences in our own lives.
Exactly. And with that,
Yeah.
we've reached the end of our exploration
Oh.
into the start-stop method.
Thanks for joining us on this rather unexpected, but hopefully enlightening adventure.
Until next time,
Yes.
keep exploring, keep learning,
Mhm.
and keep the sparks flying.
All right. See you next time.